Good morning, Dave. Thanks for making time to talk to me today. I'm really excited by the new technologies that you're deploying to solve the problem of plastic water bottles, which goodness knows is a hell of a curse on our planet. So I'm really keen to hear from you, not only about the water bottles, but also the technology and your plans for the future.
Okay, great. Thanks for the opportunity, Harold. Yeah, for those who don't know us, Water2Go as a brand has been in existence for about 13 years now. And the whole idea of the product is we have a reusable, refillable, recyclable bottle. We have a range of bottles, all of which include a nanotechnology filter. The nanotechnology filter includes 3 different technologies, which in simple terms means you can take any water from any source, anywhere in the world, and we will filter out contaminants such as bacteria, protozoa, cysts, and even viruses. There are very few filters which can take out viruses, which means that instead of turning to bottled water when you're traveling, because the further away from home we get, the more concerned we get about quality of and access to clean, safe drinking water. Our bottles will take any water, and drinking the water through the spout pulls it through the filter and filters that instantly. So we've been working with the travel and tourism industry and leisure as well. And we estimate that in the last decade, although we've been going 13 years, we've probably eliminated about 165 million single-use 50 centilitre bottles in that time. But what we're trying to do now is look at the whole gamut of alternatives. So not only an alternative to single-use plastics, but in terms of where the industry needs to go and where we need to go to preserve the planet, we've been spending a lot of time looking at developments in bioplastics, which in simple terms give you plastics made out of plants rather than oil, which is really important because we all need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. So what we've done in the last 3 or 4 years, we've taken the same stance we had with our cutting-edge nanotechnology filters and started looking at the development work that's been happening using plant-based as an alternative. So there's been quite a lot of work done in packaging, and that packaging has been used in things like to give alternatives for trays for vegetables, for packaging for fruit, and that's been using the discarded waste from various different plants. So for example, we specifically have looked at sugarcane. Now, when you crush the sugarcane, so the main idea of sugarcane is obviously to produce sugar. In the past, what has happened is the fibrous material, once you crush the sugarcane and get what you're actually looking for, the sugar, the fibrous material has then just been burnt, taking the carbon or basically the residues once it's been burned, and that's added to water for fertilizers for the crop. So what we've identified is that although you can crush that same fibrous material and make containers and make alternatives to polystyrene dishes for vegetables and fruit for supermarkets, and there's some great work in that field already, we've discovered that, like a lot of plant-based products, if you actually allow it to ferment and encourage it to ferment, it creates green ethanol. Now, ethanol is a mixture of ethylene and water. So we can take that ethanol, put it to one side, but we don't then discard the fibrous material. We then compact it into bricks, and that becomes a biofuel. So the next 2 processes, where we actually heat the ethanol and extract the water, and then a very clever process which takes the ethylene, which is the ethanol without the water, we can then polymerize it and use that as a base for bioplastic. So it's 100% green. The nice thing is the fuel bricks we've created from the bagasse, the fibrous material, are used to heat the ethanol to extract the water, and then go to supply some of the power to actually do the polymerization. So you've now got, at the end of that process, polyethylene, which is the base for plastics. So all of a sudden, you've got a completely green, eco-friendly plastic. So my first thought was, obviously, it's made out of sugarcane. It can't last. Well, the great benefit of these bioplastics, these new innovative materials, is they have all the strength of the traditional plastics, but there's so it's long lasting, lightweight, and durable, but you're not using fossil fuels. So you've got the plastic made out of plants, not oil. So it's a really, really good step. And we're not only resting our laurels there, we believe there's a lot of work can be done, and we're already starting on looking at polypropylene. Polypropylene are the rigid plastics. So the great benefit of our new sugarcane bottles is they're flexible. You can squeeze them and get the water out. There is a new development coming up now where you can actually start looking at bio alternatives to polypropylene as well. So having adopted a stance very early in the process where we looked at nanotechnology, and we're the first people to use nanotechnology in water filtration, we're now using the bioplastics, the sugarcane plastics, which will be available in the marketplace in the next couple of weeks. So we've done a lot of development. These are actually UK made, which is it's a great thing. And we developed a manufacturing base to use these new materials, which perform slightly differently in bulk production. So we've done development in special molds, special molding with a UK manufacturer, and we have the first production coming out this week. So it's quite an innovative stance, and we believe this is the way forward, because one of these bottles will last you for life. The only part you have to replace is the filter. The filter will filter 200 litres of water, giving it safe, clean water, drinking water. And we're tested and proven with testing on 3 continents: India, China, the USA, and here in the UK with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. So it's a proven technology. We're now adding that to a sugarcane bottle, which will last you for life, recyclable and 100% sustainable. So it's a different proposition, and I'm certain that that would encourage the travel and tourism business to look at what they're doing. I understand the philosophy of taking care of your clients and immediately giving them a bottle of water when they end up in a resort or a country where you think, oh, I'm not quite sure about the access to and quality of the water. But giving them single-use plastic water bottles is just not the answer. So
Dave,
that's where we are.
Dave, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Of course you can.
That's a very impressive new product. Is it possible to print onto those bottles? So can you get brand recognition on the bottle?
Yeah, I mean, basically we have food-grade silicone bands which go around the bottle. They carry our logo, but what we've developed is a process for being able to co-brand with either for an event or for a company name. So we can take the corporate colors and we can add those into the silicone bands to carry the name of a travel business, a destination, DMCs, a travel agent. We can basically customize them and do wide label.
And presumably the tour operator or the hotel that uses these products can have a piece on their website talking about how wonderful the technology is.
Yes, I mean, we do this in a sort of partnership base. So on the back of the band, we have a little section which says, for information and replacement filters, go to. That normally is simply at our website. But what we do for our partners, we actually put in a bespoke URL which takes their clients to a soft landing page. It's not a sales page by any means, which explains why we're working together. And then, of course, we would encourage the travel companies to use the benefit of the partnership and why we're working together on their websites as well. One or two of them, of our existing partners, are actually putting this into your confirmation documents or your confirmation email, saying that the water at this resort or whatever is maybe not be 100%, especially if you're leaving the hotel. A lot of development has been done in hotels over the last decade to improve water. But when you step outside the hotel and you need water when you're traveling, I mean, the World Health Organization says we ought to drink 2 liters of water a day when we're traveling. What do they do then? You know, and again, most people resort to dishing out single-use plastics, which is just terrible.
Thanks, Dave. We'll put the link on the final screen so that people will be able to make contact with you. The other question I wanted to ask, Dave, was you say that these are lifetime assets, if you like.
Yeah.
What happens if they do get thrown away? What is their degrade cycle, as it were, if they are scrapped at some point by the consumer?
Well, I've done a lot of work of late. I'm trying to identify, looking at things like the UK Plastics Pact, European initiatives on recycling. These bottles are fully recyclable. They don't degrade any quicker than standard plastics because they have all the benefit of plastics. It's the resource, the lack of use of fossil fuels. So it's that side of it. So these will be recycled in the standard domestic cycling. And obviously in places where there isn't such a developed recycling system, we would encourage the travel companies, if there are discarded bottles, to bring them back and recycle as standard.
Dave, thanks very much. Is there anything you want to add before we close?
Well, the only thing I would say is that, you know, we all need to start to move away from fossil fuels. We know that. And one thing I forgot to mention is that at the end of the process, when those bricks that fuel the factories and the processes, when they are burned, we collect the waste from that. We add water back to it. That actually goes back to the sugarcane fields and helps as a fertilizer, because when you're cropping sugarcane, you only crop the top. You actually leave the roots and they grow the same crop is grown again. So we're actually taking the fibrous material, utilizing as a biofuel instead of using fossil fuel. Then at the end of that process, taking it back and using it as a fertilizer. So it's got a nice circular feel to it.